Hey everyone, I'm Rob Yates, Communications Director of the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. Today I'm excited to introduce you to two good people. First, Steve Feldman, Dr. Steve Feldman, is the Libertarian Party of North Carolina's candidate running for U.S. Congress House in the 10th Congressional District. He is a doctor, an author, and a peace advocate, amongst many other things, who has worked tirelessly to end war around the world, particularly war that the US is financing, backing, supporting, or causing in some other way. Then we have Michael Dublin, the Green Party candidate for US House, North Carolina District 2, another tireless anti war advocate. Today, we're going to sit back and listen to them both talk about some of the anti war efforts in which they have been involved. Beyond the emotional resonance of their stories and the personal touch that they add, they provide some background and some plans to get out. We all have very strong opinions on many of the wars and military conflicts going on around the world, and there's a good reason. War is awful no matter who you are. Let's take a listen to these two candidates as they go into some detail about the challenges that we are facing in getting out of wars and the atrocities that are war. First up is Steve.
Hi, yeah, I'm Steve Feldman. I'm the Libertarian candidate in North Carolina's 10th Congressional District. And, I'm really excited to be here with Michael Dublin, the candidate in District 2, to talk about issues in Israel and Palestine. This is an issue that, of course, is near and dear to my heart because I'm a Jewish American physician. I've had a lot of experiences in medicine that have led me to believe that when people in my group tell me bad stuff about people in another group, they're usually wrong. And so, I think it's kind of cool that we have a libertarian here and a Green Party candidate who you would think might, have strong disagreements on how they see the world and maybe see this issue so similar. My thinking on this is really heavily influenced by being Jewish. My mother's family came from Poland, and many of them did not get out in the Holocaust. And that and the Jewish morality I was taught make me believe so firmly that we should never mistreat other people. More than that, we should stand up when we see the mistreatment of other people. I have a lot of relatives in Israel, so does my wife, and I've traveled much of the country of Israel with them. And I remember coming over a hillside once in their car and looking out over the valley, and there were farms and industry and forests on the hillside. When I was a kid in Hebrew school, I collected dimes to plant trees in Israel. And it occurred to me that that in Hebrew school, they taught me we had come to a land of empty deserts and swamps, and we had made it bloom like this. Well, if that was true, where had Palestinian families been living? Something struck me as something that there was something missing in what I had been taught, that if this was all empty swamps and deserts, how could 700,000 Palestinian men, women, and children have become refugees in the founding of Israel? And so being a scientist, I started looking into it, and I found that there were towns where our Jewish forces had committed atrocities. And looking at just information from Israeli Jewish sources, I found an Israeli Defense Force report that said that the top 3 reasons in order of importance why Palestinians left their homes and villages was number 1, we forced them out. Number 2, we forced them out. And number 3, we forced them out. Knowing that the Israeli war plans call for the destruction of Palestinian villages, the expulsion of the entire population of those villages, to me, with my Jewish background and the Holocaust understanding, now when I see Israel killing people that we made and keep refugees from their homes, it no longer has a moral high ground to me. I think we need to be seeking peace peacefully, not by supporting the violence that we see going on.
Well, Steve, that was really well spoken. I enjoy hearing you give that account. it is so relevant and pertinent to what's going on now in Palestine. Obviously my background is a bit different, as growing up as African American here in the South. But knowing some of the similarities of the treatment of people by these, military and colonial forces is, something I was introduced to by my uncle who fought in Vietnam. So at an early age, he explained to me, he was someone that actually was on the ground there, and some of the atrocities that he saw and took part in against the Vietnamese, the indigenous people, and that was perpetrated by our military. So I had that knowledge at a young age, and then when I started learning history of some of these events, because he, along with other people in my family, we always, a lot of us were already politically engaged. I joined the NAACP at an early age. So being a social justice, person, or I don't want to use the word warrior, but someone that stands up for social justice and ecological causes at an early age, and then it's continuing, with that through college and beyond. So when I started to learn about, the historical reasons that were given for our involvement in places like Vietnam and before, I started to see a pattern of, using our military and going and inflicting violence on other people, unjustly, and using up our resources to do so. And so that's why I'm now, still against what's going on in Palestine. We are, supporting what's going on over there, and we're spending trillions of dollars to support that. And I think Libertarians and Green Party believe that money can be used differently, and so I think that's why we're in agreement on that we need to not be involved in that, to end what's going on, at least our involvement in Palestine.
Yeah, it reminds me that here in 2024, we actually have two really good candidates for president. Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate, and Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate. And
Yes.
Jill Stein, I think, epitomizes that Jewish commitment to morality and standing against injustice, because I know she stands very firmly against the mistreatment of Palestinian families. And I'm very proud that in 2016 I voted for her. And I know our candidate this time around, Chase Oliver, similarly is against mistreating anybody. I think there's a lot of Jewish people who have internalized the same feelings that I have. And, we're very proud that Rabbi Abraham Heschel used to, be on the front lines with Martin Luther King and support racial equality in America. And, it saddens me to see that there are still many Jewish people in the United States who support what Israel is doing. And I don't think they do it out of evil. I think many times, if not almost all the time, when we see these conflicts and people supporting violence, it's misconception. It's people who want peace, who think, oh, we have to cut the head off the snake of the evil ones, in order to get to peace, when they don't realize that those other folks on the other side want peace just as much as we do. I think it's safe to say all parents want peace for their children. And we're not going to get there by being more violent. Just today, I read an editorial saying that Ta-Nehisi Coates doesn't understand that Hamas wants to slaughter all the Jews. Hamas, in Article 31 of their charter, said that Jews, Christians, and Muslims can live together in peace, together,
Yes,
whereas
yes.
these other folks are supporting separation of people. We know from our experience here in the United States that the solutions to our institutionalized racial segregation problems was not separate states for whites and blacks. It was equality and living together. And I see that happening someday in Israel, Palestine. And hopefully the violence that we see today is going to be one step to bringing us to that equality sooner rather than later.
I hope so, Steve. And I think, we have to live in that hope that we can affect that, or at least start to affect change. And I think, when people ask me why am I running, and they're like, you guys are facing a monumental task and you can't win, but it's that hope for the future. And I believe we're starting something, and hopefully, those that come behind us will hear, our messages of peace and take up the mantle and start to question why are we involved in doing things like this? What, as I said, I was a young person and I was taught one thing, and I had to learn how to question that and say, well, hold on, because I was raised in church as a Christian, and so I would hear, Jesus is the Prince of Peace, and so that was confusing. It's like, we're Christians, and our Savior, this is people saying that is our Prince of Peace. Why are we pursuing war? And so I agree. So I see this idea between Christians, Jews, Muslims who believe we can live in peace, and I believe we can. Saying, well, hey, why are we not moving in that direction? Why are we, spending our money, our tax money, and supporting war when we say, in our churches, in our mosques, in our temples, that we want peace? And I agree. I believe, as a parent myself and a grandparent, I prefer peace for, I don't want, to send my grandchild off to war. And, I have two children who did go. They went to Iraq, and it was a time where of concern as a parent, and I thank God he made it back safely, at least. And and there is some PTSD which a lot of our troops bring back, and so that's another factor. People go and fight these wars, and even when they do come back, I mean, they still have damages from their psyche and mental mental problems from fighting in wars. I mean, again, my uncle that I refer to right now, if I go visit him, he doesn't know me. He doesn't remember who I am, and he was somebody who was a very important part of my life growing up. But from fighting in that war and having chemicals dumped on him, the Agent Orange, so that's another cost to families, and everybody in the family has to pay that cost. And these communities, even back home, we're paying that cost. And so therefore, I think that this is why we agree that peace is the better answer.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Ukraine and you see the devastation, and it just cannot be worth it. And not only that, it doesn't make us safer. I mean, if anybody attacked us, we wouldn't become less violent. So we should know by the golden rule that if we're going to go and attack somebody or try to put our troops in their country, things we wouldn't want done to us, it is not going to make us safer. We can lower our defense budgets dramatically, bring our troops home, defend our border, and in doing so, become safer in the process. It's a win-win for everybody, both here at home and abroad.
And you and I, we as Green Party and Libertarians, we agree on that. And so there's a lot of crossover. As you said, you voted for Jill Stein. I spent a lot of time with the Libertarians who are in in the Triangle area. And in fact, I saw quite a few of them last night. We were at an event, and in fact, I'm on the voter guide. So thank you, Libertarians. So we're still friends. We still agree on a great many ideas, and so this idea of peace this is not something that I'm being forced to do or think I'm doing it just to make brownie points for anybody. But this is what I truly believe and have always believed, that we should pursue peace, and you're exactly right. That military budget, we know that that's taken away from other things that we can spend on, that will help people. And I know that maybe the Green Party and Libertarians have different ways of using that money, but I think we have the same goal, that we want to help people.
I want to bring some civility to the process overall. This may sound crazy, but I know Democrats. I'm married to one. I know Republicans. I got friends, people I know in office, and they are all good people, and they all want the world to be better, and they all want to leave our kids a sound country and a peaceful world. I think what's different is some of us have come to realize that you get that peaceful world by being peaceful, not by killing other people's children, even if you meant well.
I agree with you on that point too, Steve, because I mean I know quite a few people, and you I don't know how long you've been involved in politics, but
How long?
I haven't run for office before, but I've always been a person involved and knowledgeable and speaking to people across the spectrum. Republicans, most of my family, I grew up, in Raleigh, we were Democrats. But there are quite a few people that I know that are Republicans, and I agree. I think we all want the same thing. In fact, I was at a candidate forum with the Republican candidate that's running against me, and we seem to agree on a lot of things. I think we're in for the same reasons. We want that, future for our kids. We want them to have a peaceful place where they can live. So I agree with you on that. That I think most people, regardless of which political party that they're in, kind of want the same things. So yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I just want to give a few concluding thoughts, and I'll let you finish up. I'm Jewish. Can I go to Iran and see what it's like there? I've been a couple times, and they're not even killing their own Jews. I got to go to synagogue there, and when I went there, there were no guards at the door because they're not worried about anti-Semites in Iran. We got locked doors here at our synagogues here in America, and I got to go to Palestine. I got to eat meals in the homes of Christian and Muslim Palestinian families in the West Bank. They were the nicest people I've ever met. They're like the people walking on the same stones that Jesus walked on. They are so warm and hospitable and friendly. It is what we Jews would call a shanda, that we would be injuring these people, maiming their children, killing entire families. It's just horrible. I'm so passionate with my Jewish background that we need to end this, but I'm going to end with a piece of Christian wisdom that one of my dermatology friends, taught me, because I'm not a New Testament expert, but it's something, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's something like, why are you complaining about the splinter in your neighbor's eye when you have a plank in your own?
Yes.
There are peace-loving Americans. I'm sure Ted Budd, North Carolina senator, is a deeply devout, religious, caring, peace-loving person. And he's supporting this violence because I think he thinks it'll get to peace. Please look at the plank, follow your own Christian scriptures and take another look. Go meet those Palestinian families before you bomb them. See that they love their children just as much as we love our children, and that we can have peace by living together peacefully.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I mean, you're so graceful to let me close it out because I'm not as well traveled as you, but I definitely agree that if we see each other, and I do believe that's what Jesus, when he was living, when he was on earth, he was trying to get people to see other people, not just see the woman for her supposed crime, but actually see her as a person and forgive. And that's why he taught forgive, forgive, forgive. So I agree. And it's sad that, you know, so many people believe a rhetoric about some group of people, and they take it that that's 100% true. And I don't see how we can bomb people and kill them unless we see them as less than being human. And I think that, as you said, you know, go visit the families, go eat their food, sit at their table. And I believe this is what Jesus was teaching. And you'll see, you know, in fact, you know, let's think about the Good Samaritan. That whole story is about talk to Jews at that time who hated Samaritans. So he was making a point about somebody who was different, of a different culture, and maybe even hated by most. But look at, you know, which one is more righteous, the one that looks at his neighbor or the one that passes them by. And so, yes, I think if we can look at our neighbors that are just passing them by, then we'll
Our
see.
Palestinian neighbors.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yeah. So, and I don't that, and I think once we do that, I mean, if we can do that, then yes, we can work out peaceful solutions.
It's a pleasure talking with you, Michael. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Steve. You're the best.